Hello there, this is the Module 12 video. So first and foremost, I just want to say that, again, I hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy. I know that these are very challenging and stressful times. And so I really appreciate the hard work that everyone is doing. Again, I know that this is a difficult situation for everyone. All right, so in Module 12, what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at what are called inferential methods. So up to this point in the course, when you have looked at data analysis, you have been primarily focused on describing the data at hand. We've looked at what are called descriptive measures. So you've looked at making different plots as well as different numeric summaries. But all of the summaries that you've come up with, again, they've been what's called descriptive. You're just describing the sample that you have. We haven't actually gone on to say anything about the population, which is the group that we're actually interested in learning about. So now we're going to shift our focus over to inferential methods, and what inferential methods do is they allow us to take the information contained in a sample to say something reasonable about what's happening in a population. Now, in order to be able to do this, we have to acknowledge that the samples that we take are random. So when we calculate different statistics from them, those statistics are likely to vary from sample to sample. So since the samples are random, so are the statistics. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to learn how to describe the behavior of statistics from different random samples and to see if we can say anything about that behavior. If we can get a handle on how a statistic changes from random sample to random sample, then what we can do is we can quantify its variability, we can quantify its behavior, and then in turn we can use that to estimate our uncertainty in that statistic when it comes to using that statistic to learn about the parameter. And so one of the very first things you're going to look at in this module is what is called the sampling distribution. So the sampling distribution, it helps us describe how a statistic changes from sample to sample. And again, we have to get a handle on that variability if we're going to use the statistic to say something reasonable about the population, which is what we really want to learn about anyways. So you're going to look at the sampling distribution first, and then you're going to transition into what are called confidence intervals. So I want to take just a moment and talk a little bit about this course's approach to confidence intervals and then eventually hypothesis testing. And so this is kind of the analogy for that. All right, so there's a big difference between knowing how to drive a motor vehicle and knowing how to work on a motor vehicle. Most people can get in just about any motor vehicle, probably get behind the wheel and figure out how to drive it. Most people can't, on the other hand, pop open the hood and, do mechanics on the car. So we are taking the driver approach in this course for inferential reasoning. So for example, with my motor vehicle analogy, there's a difference between what people typically drive minivans for and what people drive sports cars for. Minivans are good for hauling around a family, whereas a sports car is good for racing. But most people can get behind the wheel of either one and drive it. They just need to know which task they're going to perform if they were going to choose between the two. So we're going to do the same thing for confidence intervals. The idea is I want you all to be able to pick which confidence interval is appropriate, and then you're going to be able to drive it by running it in statistical software. You're not necessarily going to be able to fix it or to understand, all of the formulas and the mechanics and everything that go into it, but that is fine. Most researchers need to be able to drive the car, not to fix the car. Being able to fix the car and maybe build a brand new car, that's more the job of the statisticians, and that's why people normally work in groups when it comes to public health, because you'll have different people that bring different expertise, but as long as everyone has somewhat of a common base knowledge, then it's easier to work in those groups. So again, we're going to start learning the basics of inferential reasoning in this module. And the first type of inferential methods or reasoning we're going to look at are what are called confidence intervals. And what you'll find a confidence interval does is it gives you a way to find plausible values for a parameter that you're interested in based off of a statistic. So as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I am more than happy to help in any way I can. And again, I can't say it enough that I really do appreciate everyone's hard work in this course. And I just hope that everyone stays safe and healthy.